Welcome to the Lara Jane Layton Show. This podcast is for you, the person who keeps putting others first. Your self-talk has held you back. You no longer need to take a second seat. Let's explore ways to overcome self-doubt. You can silence that inner bully voice and achieve your full potential. Here's your host, Lara Jane.
Hello, friend. I'm so excited. I have Alisha with me today. And Alisha is going to talk to us about how we can embrace our femininity by getting rid of the shame. And you may be thinking, well, I'm not ashamed. I'm not. Look at me. I'm a powerful woman and I can do all this stuff. But I think if you really sit back and reflect, there's going to be some of that self-talk that's in the back of our brain that's questioning, I got to work late again. Am I letting my kid down by not going here? Am I letting so-and-so down or my friends down because I just canceled on an appointment or a lunch, dinner, or coffee? And you have that little tiny bit of, man, I just can't do it all. And then there's a little bit of shame. So Alicia's here to help us release some of that and move forward and be the most powerful, beautiful people that we can be. All the information about Alisha is in the show notes. All the links and everything that we talk about are in the show notes. And so we can just jump right in and take advantage of Alicia's time. So Alisha, help us silence that little bully voice in the back of our heads that keeps telling us we're not good enough.
Yeah. So those thoughts go along with the energy of shame. So the way that I personally have released a ton of shame, because I carried a lot, was always judging myself. If you're judging others too, you're carrying shame. So even if you think I'm not carrying shame, if you're judging others, you're carrying shame. Everyone is a reflection of you. If you're judging another person, you're judging yourself. So most people are carrying shame, but they don't allow themselves to feel it because it is the densest energy on the human scale of consciousness. I don't know if you've heard of the human scale of consciousness. Yeah. So anyone that hasn't, this is part of the book, Power versus Force. It's essentially like a scale of emotions. So what we're saying is shame is like the heaviest emotion that a human can feel, at least what they've discovered so far. Maybe there's something heavier than that. So most people would rather die than feel shame or admit that they're carrying shame or they feel shameful. So they'll do a lot of things to avoid feeling shame. And then they think that it went away. So like, let's say you are feeling guilty because you missed something important for your child or let someone down that was counting on you, or, you didn't get everything done in a day that you wanted to get done, whatever. And then you're having all these judgmental thoughts and judging yourself. So the way that I would move through something like that is by welcoming the shame. So that means bringing more awareness to it instead of less, instead of, okay, I need to go and make up for it. I disappointed my child, so now I'm going to go do something so that they aren't upset with me. That doesn't dissolve shame. That actually just makes you feel the shame temporarily less. So it didn't actually go anywhere. So what we want to do is actually bring more awareness to what you're feeling. And we could talk about like a step-by-step tool on how I release energy and specifically shame. But it's going to take a ton of willingness. I just have to say that right now, because it is the heaviest emotion that people would rather not feel. So to sit there and actually feel that guilt and that shame and like that wrongness, it's really uncomfortable. So you'd have to have some sort of a point of willingness on, why am I even willing to sit in this pain? It's not going to last forever when you sit in it. That's actually what's going to dissolve it. But why would you be willing to sit with it? Because you want to be free. That's why I do it. Because I want to be unconditionally free instead of just temporarily, if I work hard enough, then I don't feel shame. That to me is not unconditional freedom.
And I think I'm hearing you. And let me see if I can put this in my little, I like to make analogies for everything.
Yeah.
But say my wrist hurts.
Mm-hmm.
I can put something on it. I can mask it. I can take a painkiller. But that doesn't solve what caused my wrist to start hurting in the first place. Mm-hmm. So if I'm feeling shame and I shove it away, I've masked it, I've hidden it, and there's no way to acknowledge, why is my wrist hurting?
Mm-hmm.
What should I do about it?
Yeah.
And how do I move forward? So by embracing it and thinking about it, then we can move past from the symptom to the cause. And just because you missed a board meeting because somebody was sick, you feel a little bit like, oh, everybody's going to think I'm incapable. Now I feel a little bit shamed that my life is out of control and I couldn't make it because I had a sick kid or something.
Mhm.
Those are the kind of things that what is really triggering that? It's not the
Mhm.
sick kid. It's not the what, but if we sit with it, it's like, I feel like I have to push to be equal to my coworkers, or I have to. So when you sit with it, you identify more of the thought process behind it than the actual pain.
Yeah. So that's exactly it. So like what you resist persists. So that energy isn't going to go anywhere if you just try to mask it. And what you're saying about the thoughts, like for a lot of people, there is like a bottom belief, is what we call it in theta healing, where like there's a reason why you're judging yourself and shaming yourself. You could think that it's serving you. And this could be from childhood, passed down through your generations, that you just think like, I'm not going to get anything done unless I am hard on myself. And a lot of people think that, like, if you did something, quote, wrong, that you better think that you did something wrong, because if you forgive yourself, you're going to make the same mistake again. But it is actually the opposite. This is the biggest key I can give anyone who's trying to dissolve shame, or like what they call like a bad habit or anything. If you make yourself wrong for something, it's going to take effort for you to stop doing that thing. If you are in forgiveness of yourself for what you did, like if you missed some really important meeting or whatever, if you are in forgiveness of yourself, you're actually less likely to do that thing again, because now you're in the frequency of self-love. Love is where you're like naturally doing loving and nurturing things for yourself. So you're naturally going to be called to do things that like make you feel love and nurturance. So like supporting your child, or doing things that light you up, or eating healthy, or working out. These things actually come natural to you when you're in the frequency of love. When you're in the frequency of shame, it isn't natural for you to do loving and nurturing things for yourself. That's actually the energy where you would most likely be eating really unhealthy, be attracted to like emotionally unavailable people, like just be like doing a lot of things because you don't fully love yourself unconditionally if you're shaming yourself. So then you end up doing kind of destructive things, and it takes effort for you to not do them. You have to literally like choose, I'm not going to eat that thing. Versus when you're in the frequency of love, you don't even want to eat that thing. So that's something I really want to point out, because a lot of people believe I have to shame myself to make better decisions and do better next time. And so they don't even want to dissolve the shame. So we need to dissolve that myth right now, so that everyone listening to this call realizes that it isn't serving them, and that maybe they would be more willing to actually dissolve the shame.
I think all my friends know that I get really irritated at really happy people. Nobody can be that happy. And I know there's a part of me that wants to let that joy show. So, but I've been so programmed to be in control. And if you're really happy, you're not in control. And so there's that little underlining. That's when you say, if you see it in other people, there's something in you. It's like,
Yeah.
I'm ashamed that I cannot show it, that I
Mhm.
cannot share that over elated, happy go lucky, everything is beautiful all the
Mhm.
time. And
Yeah.
when I see people that do, it's almost envious, in a, I hate you, shut up, get out of my face, you're perfect.
Mhm.
So how do you do that balance of, okay, I acknowledge it because I've worked on this for years, because why? Why does that trigger me? Because usually once I can identify the why, I'm able to let go of it and work through it. So if you can sit with it long enough, you go, why? Now, how do I actually turn off that switch and let it bubble out? I
Yeah.
don't know.
So what you've been doing so far is you've been doing the masculine approach to healing, which doesn't surprise me. That's, most like boss babes are in their masculine energy, and most of the world is in their masculine energy. So you actually need the masculine and the feminine approach to heal. So the example that I use is like, if this room was filling up with water, the masculine approach to solving this problem is what's the root cause? Where is the water coming from? Bigger picture awareness. Let's go turn off the taps, the source, like stop where it's coming from. That's the masculine approach. The feminine approach to that problem is you open the doors and windows and you let the water out. So if you only did the masculine approach, like let's talk about our emotions now, meaning bigger picture awareness. Oh, I'm only upset about this, or like, actually, let's use this. Okay, let's say you're shaming yourself for something. Bigger picture awareness would be like, oh, like you shouldn't be making yourself feel bad for this. You did the best that you could. And like you're trying to, convince yourself why you shouldn't feel shame because the truth. The truth is you didn't actually do this terrible thing. So you got to go to like bigger picture awareness. That's the masculine approach. And that's what most people do. And they kind of stop there. They kind of figure out, why am I feeling this way? Oh, like that's not even really the truth. So I shouldn't feel that way. And then they feel maybe temporarily better. But the feminine approach is now we have to actually allow ourselves to feel the shame so that it dissolves. That's like the opening of the doors and windows. Like we're getting the energy out of our body. That doesn't happen when we only do the masculine approach. So that is what most people are missing. So again, we need to bring awareness to where we're feeling it in our body. We need to bring breath all the way down to our belly. So we're activating our parasympathetic nervous system response. And for me personally, I had to actually sit with shame. Like I took one incident that really like triggered me where I was feeling so much shame. And I sat with it for a whole hour, like just doing those two things, bring awareness to where I feel it, breathe more fully. I wasn't trying to rationalize or make myself feel better. I was just welcoming it. And it took about an hour before I was no longer making myself wrong about that thing, like at all. No judgmental thoughts. No, I didn't feel it in my body anymore. It was gone. And I had dissolved like a whole layer of shame. After that, it was just crazy how everything changed in my life. I was judging myself less. I was judging others less. Like I was judging people so much before. I couldn't even help it. Every time I was around someone in my head, I'm judging them. And then after I dissolved that shame, wasn't judging other people anymore. You would probably be judging those joyful people less if we
started to get the windows open.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, I wanted to make a point about what you said about feeling jealous, because jealousy is a sign that that thing that you're seeing is available for you, but you're seeing it through the eyes of, I can't have it. So I can't have as much joy as them, or I can't have as much whatever you're seeing in another person. That's what jealousy means. It means that amount of joy is actually available for you. And so I actually get really excited when I feel jealousy now, because when I welcome the jealousy, that thing that I was jealous of always comes into my life like very, very soon later. Because the only reason I feel jealous is because it's available for me right now. It's like my heart sensing into this quantum field of infinite possibilities and is like, that amount of joy is available for you, or that thing you're wanting is available for you. You don't feel jealous for no reason. You feel a longing because it's available. So I get actually really excited when I feel jealous. So you could do that too if you want, and be like, oh, okay, that means that much joy is available for me. So I'm going to welcome the jealousy, because then I could feel that much joy too.
I think that's fun. And I'm thinking, okay, so if next time, because there's going to be another happy person out there in the world, thank you person, because I do love it. So next time, acknowledge, I know I'm getting that feeling, that annoyance, but to just really pull in that feminine energy, I need to go, I can have this too, or do I just mimic it and let it out?
You bring awareness to where you feel it in your body, because you're not triggered by something unless you feel it in your body, because then you're not bothered. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not triggered unless I feel it in my body. If someone joyful shows up in my life and I'm not triggered, I don't feel anything in my body.
Mm-hmm.
So joyful shows up in your life and you're triggered, you feel it in your body. So the first thing I do is bring awareness to, where do I feel it in my body? And then there's so many other ways you can bring awareness to it. You could be like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how intense is this? The number doesn't matter. Okay. So it does not matter at all if you can't figure out what the number is. It's just like, while you're trying to be like, oh, I guess it's kind of like a 7 or a 6. That was 10 seconds right there where you didn't try to resist it. You didn't try to make yourself feel better. You didn't try to change it. You actually bring awareness to it. So that's why, like, you can just ask yourself questions as a way to bring awareness. So where do I feel it in my body? on a scale of 1 to 10, how intense does this feel? Does this energy have like a texture, a density, a size? Is it like filling up my whole stomach? Does it feel like little butterflies? Does it feel fluffy? Does it feel heavy? Like, again, the answer to these questions means nothing. It's just a way to bring more awareness to the energy instead of resisting the energy. Is that making sense? And then you can bring in what you just said, how you were saying, that's available for me too. That's the masculine approach. So I always do the feminine approach before the masculine approach. So I welcome the energy, and then I remind myself of higher picture awareness. Oh, I'm only feeling jealous because it's available for me too. I don't bring that in first, because if I bring that in first, I'm going to feel less triggered, right? I just said this thought that's very peaceful, that's probably going to calm my body a little bit. So it's harder to feel the shame and the jealousy at that point because I just lessened it. So I always do the masculine approach after the feminine approach.
I love that idea because I've always tried to just figure it out and move through it. So instead of figuring it out, next time this happens, I'm going to breathe and I'm going to say, is there a spot in my body that is feeling this more than the others? Because it's going to be everywhere. So where, if I was to identify this, is it feeling like and is that spot heavier or lighter? Is it tense or loose? And just get an idea of what it's feeling like.
Mm-hmm.
And then am I ready to ask the masculine part, or do I just need to just keep asking it until it lightens?
So I actually wait till I feel a little bit lighter before I bring in the masculine approach. That's a good question. People ask that all the time. So like I said, when I sat with shame for an hour, I didn't bring in the masculine approach until that hour, like until I felt lighter and I wasn't judging myself. Then I brought in that. You could bring it in sooner, but you probably didn't move all the energy.
All right. So I know that our friend is thinking this too, as I don't have an hour. Can I put it on the back burner and do it tonight? How do I put it on hold? I'm right in the middle of right now. I got to get it out of the way to finish my day.
Yeah.
So do you have an answer? Do you have an idea how we could do that?
Two things.
If you do, I'm going to have you hold it for just 1 minute. All right. So let's take a quick break. Now let's get in a word from our sponsor. When we come back, I want you to give us some ideas of how we get out of that masculine power, because I'm always stuck in it. I always want to fix it and I never just sit with it. So I need some tricks. And so we'll be right back.
This podcast is sponsored by Lara Jane Coaching. You know you're ready to silence your inner bully voice. Let Lara Jane support you with coaching. To schedule an introduction call, go to larajanelayton.com.
All right, Alisha, help me get out of my masculine and not like I do. I know that this is going to come up and I'm going to go, I don't have time to deal with this right now. Put it in the closet.
Yeah.
And then I never get it out of the closet. So how do we make that balance?
Okay. So I will say that in this particular case, quality is more important than quantity, meaning if I spend 5 minutes a day, but I'm doing it to love and nurture my body, and I say to my body, this is the most important thing I could do all day, is check in with you, be here for you, love the one who's upset. And that's what I do every time I check into my body, actually. I say that to myself beforehand. This is the most important thing I could do all day. Even if I only do it for 1 minute a day, I still say that to my body. So if you're bringing only 5 minutes, but it's like total presence and love and nurturance for yourself versus an hour of like not really being that present, like obviously it is more powerful, like the more present you are. So if you can just schedule 5 minutes a day for now, the way I started doing this work is I would do 3 times a day, a little check-in. So first thing in the morning, right when I open my eyes, right before I go to bed, and then I have an alarm that goes off in my phone that reminds me to just check in to how I'm feeling. So that's how I started. And then every time I was triggered, I would do it because I know that that's what creates peace. So it's just started to become an automatic thing that like, why would I wait to bring awareness and breathe till later, because I can do it in front of another person, right? Let's say you said something right now that triggered me. I can still bring some awareness to my body and breathe even while I'm here with you. Probably more awareness when I'm by myself later. I can sit with it more later when I get some free time, but it's something you can do at any moment. And I know it creates peace. So that's why I do it right when I'm triggered, even if it's just 30 seconds, whatever I can do. So that's the first thing I was going to say about that for people who say they don't have time. Secondly, I was going to say, maybe you guys have heard this saying before, but people say, if you say you only have 5 minutes to meditate, you should meditate for 20 kind of thing. So like essentially saying if your life is that busy and that chaotic, it means more than ever, you actually need to go within and start dissolving some of these energies, because that's what's actually going to have your life, rearrange itself so it's more peaceful and fluid. And because everything's a reflection of your state of consciousness. So the more peace I'm in, everything in my life responds and becomes peaceful. Your children start behaving differently. Things get taken off your to-do list that people are like, I've got that, I already did that for you. Your husband's like, just like handles things for you. That will just happen the more peace and joy that you're in naturally. So people that are saying they don't have time, I would try to prioritize this if you could, if you really want change in your life, because there is so much power in your feminine energy that most people are not even going into. I always say you haven't even seen how life shows up when you're in your feminine energy, because the immediate thing that we do is we just go into our masculine. I'll do it myself or whatever. And then you don't actually get to see what happens when you're in your feminine. Like things get taken off your plate. Things are done effortlessly. You just like receive more effortlessly because feminine energy is receiving. So a lot of people just don't see how life could show up because they're in their masculine. But to answer your question again about how do you get out of your masculine, we can talk about feminine exercises you can do in a second, but a big piece of it is like fear, because fear and control go hand in hand. So the only reason that you would feel the need to control something is because you're in fear, like it's not going to work out unless I do it myself, or it's not going to happen unless I do it, or it's going to go totally wrong if I don't step in. So it's actually fear that has you go to control things and immediately jump into your masculine energy. So everything we said earlier about welcoming shame, we would have to do that same thing with fear.
Okay, so let's play this scenario then, because we're probably, if you're normal, like the average stats in the United States, you are in the boardroom with all of their men. It's you and 10 other men, or maybe another woman, but never. Okay, I do know a couple companies that are mostly women, but if you're in the norm, you're in that boardroom and you are the only female.
Mm-hmm.
You automatically have a tendency to want to blend with them. I need to be in control. I need to not let my emotions go. I need to not do these things that make me look feminine. Yes, I want to look beautiful. Yes, I want to be known as female or whatever. But I still want to fit in. I still want to belong. And we think that being like everybody is belonging. And I know that's not the case, but okay, I'm now being triggered. I'm feeling like I might feel like they're questioning my competence, which wasn't really, but they said something and now I'm wondering if they think I'm competent.
Yes.
Do you have a quick thing I can do right then? I am one that finds a cleansing breath for any time that I need to do something like that. I just love it. And give me that second to exhale slowly and just come back to zone. But I know there's got to be more than that I can do and they're not going to notice.
You could gently touch your skin. Like you can do it very subtly, flip your hair. I know this is like very feminine, but this is a way.
I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, you look so sensual. I'm like, yeah, right in the boardroom.
You can do it on the wrist under the table.
But
You could just
Yes,
slightly
I like
move your
this.
hips in a way that no one even can really see. But more importantly to what you just said, it reminded me I have to clarify something. Just because your core energy is feminine, which actually we should talk about that too in a second, but that doesn't mean you're never in your masculine energy. When you're at work, you probably are in your masculine energy, and that's normal. So I'm not saying you have to be in your feminine energy 100% of the day, because when you're at work or you're doing your tasks or you're taking care of the kids, you're actually in your masculine energy, and that's fine. It's about scheduling time to be in your feminine energy and maybe taking little pauses throughout the day when you're at work to get more in your feminine energy. And we can talk about feminine exercises. But I just want to actually clarify something for everyone that's listening, because I've heard a lot of women say, my core energy is masculine. And it could be true for you, but I'll ask one question and you can ponder on it. Okay. So the masculine energy actually likes being the provider. So I just want everyone that's on here to ask themselves, if my husband didn't have a job and wasn't providing any income and was sitting at home every day, maybe just watching TV all day and wasn't providing at all, and I was providing everything, would that light me up that I'm the provider of this family? Or would it bug me? Because that will tell you. We probably have to clear a lot of things though, because some people will still say yes to that because they're carrying shame though, because they're going to be like, ooh, I'm the provider. And it makes you feel like valuable and powerful. But if we cleared the shame first, then you'd have a real answer to that question, and you'd realize, I don't actually like that he's sitting on the couch all day and I'm the one providing. Like, it doesn't feel good. Like, that's how you know it's not actually your core energy. Like, how do you feel when I ask you that? Like, if you were I don't know, maybe that is the case for you. I'm
No,
just curious.
it's I know many women who have stay-at-home husbands, and that they are at the top of their echelon in the corporate world, and they are happy to be the provider. Um, for me personally, I just happen to be married to someone who is so task-oriented and so masculine in their energy that
Mhm.
I can't even imagine it. I can't imagine him wanting to just sit, because he can't even stay home for a day.
Mhm.
He gets anxious. He has to get up and move and go do something. And he's been self-employed. So in my brain, I can't even imagine it. But let's take it where he's incapacitated. I could see that I would be happy to be the sole provider in that.
Mhm.
But he would be so sad if it wasn't for that reason, that I can't tell you. I don't think I could. I
Yeah.
but
So
yeah, so yeah, you tell me. I'm gonna guess I've got a core feminine
yeah,
energy
yeah.
that's had to rely on her masculine side for so long. I mean, when you're a single parent and you're working in the corporate world with all men, you really start identifying with that group of people. And it took me my late 50s before I started I am spending time with women. I am going to get me a core tribe that we hang out,
Yeah.
and so there's that balance of trying to reach out to be around more femininity, but
Mhm.
it's not always possible.
Yeah, and you know what? So I was an engineer, so I was surrounded by men, and all of my friends were guys, and I get you. And I was kind of in my masculine energy, so therefore I was attracting feminine men. So it took me a while to kind of get back to my feminine energy. But I just want to point out that, like, there's so much power in your feminine energy that you can still use in the corporate world. I personally didn't find a way that I could use it in the corporate world, but I didn't actually try because that's just not where I was meant to be. But like your feminine energy is sensing, feeling, expressing, and receiving. So being really dropped into your body and really sensitive is a huge gift, because you can know when you're 2% off center, when you're putting energy into a task or a project that's going to create nothing. If you're sensitive enough and you're in your feminine energy and you practice, you can have that awareness, and you can save your company so much time, so much money by being in your feminine power. But like, you may just not express it to them like, "Oh, I had a feeling," because they'd be like, "What?" You would just, have to find a way to word it so that they are willing to follow your wisdom. But like, masculine energy is doing and taking action, but every action is inspired by like some sort of thought first. Like, everything starts internally first. The masculine energy is guided by the feminine energy. That's when the masculine energy has power. If you're taking action that wasn't guided by your feminine energy, it has less power and it might create like nothing. If you just like, I'm like, oh, we just should do this, but like you weren't guided to do that, you could spend hours on something that's going to create nothing. Right. So if you start to see the value in being in your feminine energy, that it would actually support your job, it would make you probably like the most valuable employee they could ever have, because you're connected to your intuition. So you're like giving the company so much time and money. You're going to want to practice it more.
I do have a question. And it's just because in my upbringing, women always say, I'm a giver. I give and give and give and give. I take care of everybody else but myself. I give, 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 give. And you've mentioned a few times that feminine energy is a receiver. And so I wanted to clarify the difference. We feel like we give.
Yeah.
But are we giving to receive something? I mean, so help me understand the difference between giving and receiving in the context that you're talking.
Yeah. So giving, I know people get confused about that. I would not say that giving is a feminine energy. I would say nurturance is a feminine energy. If you are giving in a way that is depleting yourself, that actually leads usually to like breast cancer and things like that, because your breasts represent nurturance. So a lot of people are like, no, I'm a mom, that's like their identity. So I have to sacrifice for my children. And they don't realize it in this moment that it's actually affecting their health. That if you're over giving to the point of depleting yourself, that it's not serving you and it's not serving anyone. So feminine energy is receiving. I wouldn't say feminine energy is giving, unless you're giving from pure love, that it doesn't feel depleting to you in any way at all.
And I loved your change in words to nurturing, because I couldn't turn off that how can I support you in your journey thing. To most of the people that I know, I would want to reach out and be there if they wanted to be, but it is nurturing. I'm not giving of me. I'm not giving anything. So I understand now the nurture. So help me now understand how you mean receiving. What is it that I am receiving?
Yeah. Okay. So receiving means a lot of things. So you're receiving life. So you're receiving everything that shows up in your life. That includes triggers. So instead of rejecting when you feel upset or when something happens in your life that is just like really disturbing, instead of rejecting it, you're going to receive it. You're going to keep your heart open and you're going to be willing to feel everything that you feel. If your husband does something that hurts you, instead of closing your heart and like shutting down, and then now he can't feel you, he can't learn what you need. Instead, you keep your heart open, you feel the pain that he hurt you, and then it processes. Receiving is also like letting someone help you and take care of things for you, right? So like letting your husband help you with things instead of being like, I don't need you. Because if his core energy is masculine, he wants to feel needed and like he's providing. So if a long period of time goes by where you're like, I don't need you to do anything, I've got it, it's going to affect him because he does need, he's like driven by feminine energy. So let's say he's not getting it from his wife, he will get it somewhere. That doesn't mean like he's going to cheat, but he might try to like work even harder at work so then he gets a sense of accomplishment and then he feels needed. Or he might just like sit on the couch and watch TV because that feels more like being in his feminine. He needs to get the feminine energy one way or the other if he's not getting it from you. Where was I going with that? I actually can't remember now. Receiving.
Yes, I was trying to clarify, make sure it's clear on the feminine receiving energy. Yeah. So from what you're saying, it kind of sounds like kind of more of that allowing, that not trying to change what's coming in, to let it in and let it process instead of locking the door and holding everything out. So in the receiving, as someone just said something, I internalized it. I hurt my own feelings because I went somewhere that they didn't mean. But when you can sit with it and go, I'm going to let it in.
Yes.
I'm going to feel it. I'll let it process. And then maybe next time I'll be in a better space where I don't respond negatively or feel hurt by somebody else because I went down that, oh, this reminds me of X. And so now I'm hurt.
Yes. Once you've actually processed it, you will react differently. You probably won't be triggered as much the next time that that person does that thing, or maybe you won't even be triggered at all if you completely moved it the first time. And yeah, receiving also means like being a good receiver. If someone wants to like pay for you for dinner or lunch or whatever, for a lot of people, it makes them uncomfortable to receive. So that is a great way to practice being in your feminine energy is if someone offers, be like, thank you. I really appreciate it. And just let them, and then move through the discomfort that comes up in your body after that someone just paid for you. Like for a lot of people, that's so uncomfortable.
Oh,
Or like
yes.
shopping for yourself, investing in yourself. You're like, you can't even receive buying stuff something for yourself sometimes. Like just for so many people, that's a common thing. So great way to practice being a better receiver is like investing in yourself and also letting people invest in you and then welcoming the discomfort that comes up in your body when someone does try to invest in you and do something for you.
You know, and I think I love the invest in you. And I love there are people that want to. I mean, you're here because you want to invest in other people's health and happiness and wellness. You're not here just to talk to me. Oh, wait, I mean, maybe you are. No, just kidding. So, I love what you're saying. And I'm processing through and thinking, I think just, it's that sitting with it. And I'm trying to think if you're in the corporate world and you feel like you need more time sitting with it, or you can't do it at a desk, or you can't do it in the meeting, if you're walking to the room for the meeting, you have the whole walk back to your desk that you can process and allow. You have the opportunity to walk to the restroom, to go get a cup of coffee, tea, soda, whatever. You have normal breaks in your day where you can let it in and let it and feel it, where you don't have to be on the top of your game of acting like I have total control over myself. I know I had one friend that said, I just go to the restroom and I lock myself in a stall until I'm ready to come back out. And I'm like, that is so weird. And then I started thinking about it. I go, how smart. Nobody's going to question you in there. Nobody's going to ask. So my first response was judgy. And then I started sitting with it. It's like, that is just beautiful that she has found a place where she feels confident that she's away from all the other stuff that's going on. And she gives herself that space. And it's like, that's cool.
Yeah, it's really great. And I have an alarm that goes off in my phone every day that I call purple light that just reminds me to do something sensual for like 10 seconds. So you know how earlier I was flipping my hair, touching my skin, moving my hips. So that's what I do when the alarm goes off. Just 30 seconds of getting in my feminine energy and doing something sensual. And you can do it alone by yourself, or you can do a more subtle version in front of another person. Like this is not that hard to do in front of another person. You know what I do?
Short hair.
just like.
But no, I know that I could easily feel comfortable touching other parts of my body, maybe not my neck, but I could get there eventually. I could work towards it. I find I do have a nervous habit where I touch my legs and I just soothe, when things are going, when I'm not feeling grounded, I'll just kind of rub the top of my legs. Just anchor back into some grounding and get out of all that thought process in my head. So it's not sensual, but it definitely helps bring me back to reality, my reality that counts, not because we all have our own reality, right?
Yeah. So when you're doing that leg thing, so when you're touching your leg and you're being touched, it's like sensing and feeling. It's both. So you can practice your feminine energy just with what you're already doing when you're touching your leg. Just like feel, what does it feel like to be touched? And what does it feel like to touch my leg or skin? I don't know if you probably have pants on or whatever, but that you can, that's feminine exercise right there. And that's okay to make it a little more feminine, is distinguish between the two.
So I'm going to, instead of just, I'm going to acknowledge the sensation of my fingers touching my leg as they move down it, and just enjoy that stimulus that happens to those nerve endings that are on my leg.
Yeah.
I can feel that. I'm testing it. It works.
Yeah. You can feel it like on your fingers, and you can also feel it on your leg.
Right.
You know, ways to like get more in your body, sense and feel more. Little things like that.
I like it. So if we were to summarize everything we've talked about so much. So letting go of the shame, and what is shame, and how does it's in our bodies. And sometimes when I say let go, I feel like my brain is telling me kind of one of these demands. Let go. Like, no, I got all done for safety. So it's more of a release.
Yeah. My intention for welcoming shame is not actually for it to go anywhere. If my body can feel that, that's resistance actually, and it's probably not going to go anywhere. It has to be about loving the one who feels shame, and, you know, is like, if you're carrying shame, you feel wrong in some way, you feel unworthy, not good enough, you feel something. So can you have compassion for the part of you that's feeling that way? And that's what you're doing, is you're just bringing love to that part of you.
So we're going to become aware of it and allow it to be part of us and love it to death. Oh, wait, that was killing it off. We're not going to love it to death. We're just going to love it and leave it.
Yeah, and it will move when it moves. And you can tell your body whenever you're ready to let this go, you can let it go. No rush.
Okay. So acknowledge the shame. Just feel it. Allow it. And eventually you're going to love it. And it may be not as impactful. It's not like I'm loving the migraine headache it gave me, but I'm loving that original source that created that migraine, because I'm going back further. So we're going to do that, and we're going to learn to take quick breaks, to be grateful, to acknowledge that this world is beautiful, and 2-3 times a day, 2 seconds. That's all we had to do, right? And then when we're feeling in our masculine and shame is coming out, find that touch or that breath or that something that you can focus on to allow it to not be in our head and controlling, not trying to control it and push it away, but just allow it, right? Mm-hmm. So then what other last bits of wisdom can we share?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So just some more feminine exercises that you can do. Like I said, the purple light one, just an alarm that goes off in your phone to do something sensual. The skin on skin one that we were just talking about, I actually do that as soon as I get out of the shower because I'm already naked. So then I can easily put skin on skin and feel what it feels like to be touched and to touch. I do a food foreplay exercise because that's a great way to practice being a better receiver, because most people eat at least 3 times a day, and you could really receive that meal, or you could eat it unconsciously and not really receive it. So that's a way to be a great receiver, is like right before you eat, you just tell your body, this is for you. I'm about to give you nutrients and nurturants, and you deserve it. And you send a loving intention to your food. The real feminine part is you're going to smell your food before you eat it, and you're going to savor at least that first bite. So you're present, you're sensing, and you're feeling, and you're receiving at least just that first bite of every meal that you eat. That's what I do. And that's a great way to practice being a better receiver and be in your feminine energy. Right now, I'm sure most people on this call eat 3 times a day. 3 times a day, you can practice being a better receiver.
And if you're one of those, as a OMAD, 1 meal a day.
Yeah. do it once a day then.
Do it on rising, at your meal, and when you go to sleep.
Mhm.
Then you can still fit in 3.
Yeah.
All right. I really have enjoyed this. And I enjoyed, I think I've worked through some things that I had false information in my head. And I do love the idea that allowing the receiving. I think all of us fight that a little bit. Like, no, if I let you pay, then that's telling you I'm incapable. It's like, so it's like letting go of having to feel capable and just let that person, support you in their way. It's just like when I want to pay for your meal, I want you to feel special.
Yeah.
And so when I reject someone else paying for my meal, I'm not allowing them to feel special. And so it's giving in that way too, where I will let you feel appreciated and really don't just let it go, but let them know it's appreciated, because that will go even farther.
Yes, exactly. That's how you become a good receiver too, is like really saying thank you when someone does do something for you and like being so appreciative of it. And for all those people that feel like, oh, I didn't pay for it myself, therefore I'm less capable, I like to remind people every single person is a reflection of you. You're not actually separate from anyone on this planet in the quantum field. So you're rejecting receiving from yourself when you reject someone trying to pay for you. You're actually rejecting your own source. If that makes sense, that might be a little out there for some people, but
You know,
yeah.
it totally makes sense, because we are just one. And when I refuse one thing, I'm refusing me. So that makes sense. And I hadn't ever, we learn a lot as we grow, but sometimes we forget how far to take, that this learning can go here too. So it's expanding the knowledge we already have into similar situations that we're in. So I think this is beautiful. I I think, I don't even know why I'm out of words. I'm just so appreciative of the information I've received and that we're able to share with our friend, that I just love that you took the time to come onto this show, share your message, because it's beautiful. And to our friend, all of the information, Alisha's information's in the show notes. Reach out. Let her know how beautiful her conversation was. And then stay tuned for the next episode. But remember, Alisha and I are not medical or mental professionals. We are here for entertainment purposes. People have been through stuff, and we don't want you to have to go through it too. So trying to shed a light on the dark future. Thank you.
Are you tired of waking up exhausted? You are not alone. If you're looking to take your life back, let's start with the simple step of adjusting your self-talk. Stay tuned for the next episode with your host, Lara Jane. Remember to follow the show so you don't miss a next simple step that you can use to feel more confident. And please leave an honest review.